Hi, I'm Biff Wellington.
And I'm Beef Mitchum.
And welcome to another segment of History's Top 8.
This episode, we are talking about when history gets heated.
Our first pick brings us to the Senate's chamber. May 31st, 1856. An angry voice boomed throughout the Senate building. That voice belonged to the Republican Party leader and self-proclaimed abolitionist Charles Sumner. In front of his peers, he blasted profanity against Senator Andrew Butler of South Carolina about how he was disgustingly in support of slavery. His most famous remark being, "Senator Butler has chosen a mistress, the harlot, slavery." For 2 days, his speech was heard, and during those 2 days, he made a dangerous adversary.
Butler couldn't let this public humiliation go unpunished. He was a true Southern. So he dwelled honor and reputation were everything that makes a man. Butler couldn't do anything physical about it to straighten out Sumner because Butler would have to be removed from Republican Party leader. His distant cousin Preston Brooks, however, couldn't stand that his family had been besmirched, so he decided to do something about it.
On May 23rd, 1856, Brooks walked into Sumner's chamber and repeatedly beat him with his cane.
I'm Charles Sumner, and I hereby say that I've seen that senator from South Carolina walking around his plantation, not with his wife, but the harlot of slavery. And then, there was this one time, he stole my cat, and then there was this other time...
Hold up! You have libeled my state, and slandered my white-haired relative Butler, and now you're gonna get it!
I'm sorry, but my partner had to step out for a potty break. However, this next event brings us to the state of Kansas, when it became the first state to adopt popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty was a new voting system that allowed the people of those states to vote on whether they became a free state or a slave state. Once it was declared that the slavery issue in Kansas would be decided over popular sovereignty, thousands of Americans moved to Kansas, where they did this in order to influence the vote. Most notably, abolitionists and anti-abolitionists. Soon, people of both parties began fighting, and things got bloody very fast. As fighting and tensions between the parties increased, the area became known as Bleeding Kansas. Not only that, but the Democrats started to become more divided between the North and South, further increasing sectional tensions.
We think Kansas should be a slave state.
Well, we think Kansas should be a free state.
No!
Our final event brings us to the dueling grounds of Weehawken, New Jersey, where the duel between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr took place. The two had been longtime political rivals, and tensions reached a boiling point during the 1804 race for governor of New York State. After not being nominated for the Democratic-Republican candidate for vice president, Burr ran for the governor of New York as a part of a conspiracy to unite that state with the New England states, and secede from the Union. And Hamilton, being a Federalist, campaigned rather vigorously against him. Hamilton led a smear campaign through writing various accusations against Aaron Burr, and helped to ensure his defeat in the race.
Burr, angry by insulting remarks that were attributed to Hamilton, challenged him to a duel. Hamilton accepted and was shot and killed during the duel. Hamilton's death helped contribute to the downfall of the Federalist Party by depriving it of its last great leader. Burr's political reputation was utterly destroyed through this act.
U.S. history starts getting in more heat as we move on to number 6 in Boston, Massachusetts. In 1773, the British Parliament passed the Tea Act of 1773, which directly taxed colonists on their tea imports. To retaliate, on December 16th that same year, British colonists dressed up as Native Americans and dumped 342 chests of British tea overboard and into Boston Harbor. This led to many different mixed reactions among the colonists. Those that supported the act claimed that it was necessary to defend their rights. Those that were against the Boston Tea Party argued that the colonists destroyed British goods and invaded private property. This act of defiance was a key event in paving the way that led to the Revolutionary War. It not only showed the defiance of the colonists, but also their strength and willpower to gain their rights.
The tea! Stop the tea! Yeah, tea!
Most people know about the poor treatment of Native Americans in the past, which brings us back to the Trail of Tears. In 1838, right after Andrew Jackson had left office, thousands of Native Americans were forced to relocate from Cherokee land in Georgia. The U.S. government forced the Cherokees to move to lands west of Mississippi River, along the path known as the Trail of Tears. Due to the hazardous conditions and environment of the path, over 4,000 Native Americans died on the journey. They were forced to leave behind their homes and belongings and move westward to establish new lives. However, lots of them became ill and died due to exhaustion, freezing temperatures, and lack of food and other supplies. A lot of Native Americans suffered on this trail, and many did not survive the journey to the west. Our next event brings us inside the White House for Richard Nixon's scandal during his presidency. In 1972, men hired by Richard Nixon's re-election committee were busted breaking into the Democratic headquarters in Watergate complex located in D.C. Not only were they caught breaking in, they were also found to have done several illegal activities, including bugging the room. Later on, it was discovered that Nixon had been involved in a cover-up of the scandal with the use of recording tapes. Impeachment hearings of Nixon started, and he was forced to turn over transcripts of tapes in 1974. Rather than having to face possible impeachment, Nixon resigned, and President Gerald Ford took his place.
Hands up.
Put your hands up.
Next, we skip ahead to a presidential election of 2000. The main candidates were Al Gore from the Democratic Party, George W. Bush from the Republican Party, and Ralph Nader of the Green Party. Although the candidates from the major parties, Gore and Bush, were mainly competing against each other, Nader was able to run a distant campaign and take several votes away from Al Gore. Gore won the popular vote, but it all came down to the state of Florida for the Electoral College. Florida began to use punch card ballots for voting. However, a lot of the ballots were punched incorrectly. Some holes were not even punched entirely, and left partially punched hanging chads. These votes were not counted by the machines, leading to big dispute. The Supreme Court of Florida demanded a recounting of the votes, but in the Supreme Court case, Bush versus Gore, the majority ruled that methods of recount violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Stopping the recount, Al Gore accepted the ruling, and Bush was given the electoral votes of Florida, beating Al Gore 271 to 266.
This is weird. My vote for Al Gore didn't go through.
Yeah, my vote for Al Gore didn't go through either. That punching machine's a piece of crap.
My vote for George Bush went through.
Okay.
Our next event takes us inside the Oval Office of President Bill Clinton in the latter half of the 1990s. Monica Lewinsky became an intern in the Office of the Chief of Staff. However, according to evidence of audio tapes, it became clear that Lewinsky and Clinton were having sexual affairs. Bill Clinton was caught cheating on his wife, Hillary Clinton, and his sexual affairs were exposed to the public. This scandal started the motion that eventually led to Bill Clinton becoming impeached. I did not have any sexual relations with that woman.
No. Actually, the data testifies that you did.
There's no proof.
Remember? The dress? Ooh, he's about to get impeached.
Rats.